Hi, y'all. So, I usually read Scuba Steve's emails early in the morning when he just sent out his newsletter. But I've been kind of busy, and someone called me out in the Discord. So I was like, maybe I'll just go through a few things real quickly. So, first off, who are we talking about, right? We're talking about a life engineer, also known as Scuba Steve or Uncle Steve. He works at Amazon. He's been there for over a decade, almost 2 decades, and he makes a lot of great content for engineers and people just for their career in general, right? I've gotten a lot of value out of the things that he's wrote. Conflict documents and brag documents have been the biggest thing for me, and his Discord community is just really, really good, right? So I'll make sure to put his YouTube in the description and also his newsletter, right? He has a great newsletter. I recommend everybody sign up because there's always like great little tidbits coming out, and free content is free content, right? He's doing this as a subsidy for some of his videos because I'm sure he's pretty busy, and I'd be busy too if I had a family and stuff to watch after. I want to see your golf swing though, Steve. If you do watch this, I don't play any golf, but my dad does. So, but let's go over the newsletter, right? So, on quantity and quality, right? So, before we even go into this, if I was to assume this, what exactly this is about, there's two trains of thought or two tracks. People really go when they look at their work. There's quality, like how much time do you put into one thing versus quantity. And some people look at, hey, how much can I do in a short period of time? And usually they don't think about quality as much. For bigger established companies, usually they are a bit slower because they're focusing a lot on quality. And for many scrappy startups, they're like, hey, we need to get as many features out the door as possible. Um, so let's go for quantity over quality at this point. Let's just take that tech debt on later, and we'll make the changes when we need to, right? So let's get into this. And remember, there's all Scuba Steve's A Life Engineered, issue 21. So make sure to check Scuba Steve out. So there is a parable that I found through Ali Abdal's newsletter that got me thinking. There was once a pottery class called Brian. One month, he decided to split his class into two groups. Group A had to make a pot every day for 30 days, so 30 days in total. Group B had to work on a single pot for the whole 30 days. So, before even going further into this, I gotta say that people who work on 30 pots, one pot every day, are getting a lot more experience than the person who works on one pot for 30 days, right? And the reason why is because these people get to go through 30 trials, kind of, was it work fast and break things and stuff like that? Like Facebook's old motto or Meta's motto. But yeah, let's go along. At the end of the month, Brian judged the quality of the pots. Without exception, every one of those top 10 pots came from Group A. The guy that made one pot, the guys that made one pot every day, none came from the group that focused on perfecting their single pot. I agree. What I gathered from this parable is that when you first start out and learn a new skill, focusing solely on quality makes a lot of sense. Rather, it is only by doing a large number of work that your skills will rapidly improve. This is very, very true, right? Especially when you're early in your career, you're so focused on making sure it works and impressing those around you that you want it to be high quality. And I say like high quality work is super important, but you also have to remember you're going to look back a year from now at code you wrote and you're going to ask, how did they let me merge this into production, right? I've been working since 2016, 2017. And even now, my current job, I look at the code they let me push a year or two ago, and it blows my mind how much I've improved, right? But if you're not consistently putting in the reps, you're never going to get the gains that you want, right? Think about like working out in that sense. Sorry, let me go along. You might think that YouTubers I admire, such as Ali Abdal, Mr. Beast, and MKBHD, great YouTuber, were natural born video creators, but they all put in the work. Ali has more than 650 videos, Mr. Beast more than 700, and MKBHD has over 1,500 videos published. I've seen interviews of all three creators speaking about their early journeys, and they all admit that their first videos were terrible. But they all attribute their early success to hitting the publish button repeatedly and consistently. Only by creating a large body of work did they become high achievers. Yeah. Once again, putting in the reps is really going to allow you to see those gains. And if you're never doing any reps, you're never going to get into it. So I agree with everything up to this point. But the cumulative effects of repetition and consistency peter out over time. To reach dizzying heights, to be world class, it requires pushing one's limits. Mr. Beast in particular is continuing to push the envelope by spending more money on producing bigger and bigger videos. He now has an unbelievable 175 million subscribers. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the old governor of California, a bodybuilder, Hollywood actor, and the former governor, there you go, was a two-time Mr. Universe. Not related to this. I heard Arnold has a really good autobiography in that it beats the Netflix one. I haven't read or watched either one of those, but I think it's worth something. He's definitely an interesting person. So continuing, he's often quoted as saying high rep counts were the secret to his bodybuilding success. But actually, he said simply doing a lot of reps isn't enough. You need to push yourself to the limit, and that's when your body will grow. So each time you need to add more, where it's reps, sets, or weight. In other words, you have to find multiple ways to reach your limits. Repetition is only one way. Yeah, so this is something you also see in a lot of Cal Newport's books. So Cal Newport is someone I actually found out through Steve's videos. And Cal Newport makes a lot of books on the purpose, becoming less distracted in a distracted world. He also has a very good podcast about this. And you need to make yourself uncomfortable, right? If you're always comfortable, you're never going to reach these new heights, and you're going to stagnate, right? Become stagnant, right? So I do agree. It's important to make yourself uncomfortable and do it more often than not. And I have a problem with this myself. Like, I definitely feel like I'm very comfortable in my job. We have unlimited PTO. The pay is pretty good. And I do have some room for growth still. But there's times where I feel like, hey, maybe it's time for me to look elsewhere, right? But the economic clients we're in, or the economic climate we are in makes it kind of difficult. Okay, so going on. And this makes sense to me. When you first learning something, you should focus on the volume of the work. This forces you to do and not just passively learn or think about something. This tactic will allow you to go from zero to one in the least amount of time. Excuse me. I learned how to write quality code by writing a lot of code and getting feedback. I'm hoping to get better at writing newsletters by writing more newsletters. You can send me feedback by simply replying to this email. I'll do you one better, Steve. I'll make a video. But once you are no longer a beginner, to increase your results after you plateau, it's about pushing your limits and less about doing more of what got you here or got you there. At some point, making the same pot over and over again isn't going to make you any better. Share the love. So if you ever thought, how long can I make a 5-minute reading stretch out? I don't know how long this video is, but it's probably kind of long. But yeah, I totally agree. Like, especially early in your career, you could fall into something called tutorial hell, where you're like, hey, I'm missing the secret sauce, right? I need to watch hundreds of hours of tutorials on Node.js before I can even start a project, right? And a lot of people, including myself, don't start projects because we are scared of the unknown, right? And that is probably the number one thing that's going to make you better, is that you tackle those unknowns and you push yourself to greater heights that way, right? And I am not some guru. I'm only 29, turning 30 this year. I'm still fairly early in my career, not yet a senior software engineer. But I think it's important. Like, I talked to some of the interns that are at my company, about earlier in their career, and they're so worried about looking good, and I think some of that can be healthy, a lot of it can also be very detrimental to your self-esteem, and you need to understand that it takes time to grow. Even Cal Newport has started talking about this thing called growing slowly, right? But the key to that is you always continue to grow every day. And the only way you're going to do that is if you put in the reps and if you make yourself a little bit uncomfortable, right? So, for example, I'm learning Japanese right now, right? And it's so different than other languages. Um, this is the first language I've learned besides English, and it's daunting. I stopped for a little while, and I got back on track once I watched a few YouTubers, and I thought about it overnight. I was like, yeah, what do I have to lose? If not now, when? And I think it's important to push yourself. So I feel like I'm saying a bunch of the same things. Um, but yeah, great newsletter by Scuba Steve. Please give it a look in the description below. You can also find his Discord through there. I'm not sure if he's publicizing that on there or if it's only through Patreon. But yeah, thanks Steve for all the content. Y'all are amazing. So, bye bye.